In this video, you can see a Russian tank that got blown up by a mine. Its torn track is evidence of that. The tank crew hastily abandons their tank, taking only the most valuable belongings. Just a few minutes ago, this tank was returning to the rear after completing a combat mission when it was hit by a Russian mine. However, the mines were not camouflaged. We can even see them from above. We have another video taken from a different angle where it is also evident that mines are placed on the road, but the crew's still driving forward. They abandon their tank, and the Ukrainians destroy it shortly afterward with an anti-tank missile. Similar situations often occur with Russian tank crews. After the battle, they return to their original positions and get blown up by their own mines. Typically, they abandon their tanks and flee, and the Ukrainians destroy them. By the way, pay attention. In this video, you can clearly see the flight of an anti-tank missile. It's most likely a Javelin. But Ukrainian forces also occasionally fall into mine traps. The Ukrainian armored personnel carrier arrived to pick up soldiers from the front lines for rotation. However, when it was returning and crossing the road, it got hit by a mine. There might have been multiple mines there, judging by the intensity of the explosion. In this video footage, the Russians were launching a counterattack but ended up losing all their tanks to the mine barrier set up by Ukrainian soldiers. The front line is so saturated with mines that neither the Russians nor the Ukrainians can advance quickly. The Russians have mined vast areas, dug numerous trenches, and filled them with personnel. However, the United States plans to provide the Ukrainian army with cluster munitions. These projectiles can more efficiently target enemy personnel and lightly armored vehicles over larger areas. This will fundamentally change the situation on the front line and allow the Ukrainians to advance much faster. Ukrainian forces are increasingly using the HIMARS and M270 rocket launchers to directly destroy Russian military equipment. Aerial reconnaissance has located 2 Russian BM-21 Grad rocket artillery systems. They will now be destroyed by a HIMARS missile. Just a reminder, the Russian BM-21 Grad is the most common multiple rocket launcher system in the Russian army. So, the HIMARS delivers a missile strike. The Grad BM is destroyed. It's on fire, and then all its projectiles explode. The second HIMARS missile destroyed another Grad BM launcher. Another Grad BM launcher was detected nearby and also destroyed by a HIMARS missile. This is a routine and daily practice. Here's another Grad launcher, and once again the HIMARS missile hits its target. And now we have a large caliber target. A Russian self-propelled howitzer, the Tu-S-19, is hiding among the trees. However, the HIMARS missile destroys it. Another Tu-S-19 self-propelled howitzer is destroyed by a HIMARS missile. The Russian self-propelled artillery system Tornado is also positioned amidst the green trees. The HIMARS receives the coordinates and delivers a missile strike to that location. And although the missile hit very close, you have no doubt that the target is affected. The destructive power of the M31A1 missile is enormous. The warhead of the missile can impact targets within a radius of up to 150 meters from the point of detonation. Pay attention to this powerful explosion. It's the explosion of a Russian armored personnel carrier. Sometimes, the Russians load explosives into armored vehicles and send them towards Ukrainian positions. However, the Ukrainians detonate them in advance. In this forest plantation, one such armored personnel carrier loaded with explosives was stopped. It caught fire and later exploded. An explosion of such magnitude can destroy a fortified bunker, which is why the Russians use this tactic. Now, here's a unique video. The Russians hastily abandoned the armored vehicle filled with explosives. According to their plan, this armored vehicle was supposed to reach the Ukrainian bunker on its own and detonate it. However, the Ukrainians destroy this armored personnel carrier in advance using an anti-tank missile. Here's another example. A Russian armored personnel carrier was moving towards Ukrainian positions. Ukrainian soldiers fired an anti-tank missile at it. The enormous explosion once again proves that there was a significant amount of explosive material in the vehicle. And here, the Russians loaded an old T-55 tank with 6 tons of TNT. The Ukrainians hit it with a grenade launcher, causing an explosion with an incredible force of the blast wave. Ukrainian artillery is also destroying another important Russian equipment. Reconnaissance has detected the Uragan multiple rocket launcher system. This system launches unguided rockets with significant destructive power. Using the Uragan systems, the Russians daily shell Ukrainian cities near the front lines, causing significant damage to the infrastructure. And with just a single Excalibur projectile, they managed to hit the target and destroy this devastating Russian weapon. And here's the destruction of the Tu-S5 artillery system using a HIMARS missile. The Russians concealed the SA-15 Gauntlet surface-to-air missile system among the trees. It is designed to engage and destroy aerial targets, including aircraft, helicopters, and unmanned aerial vehicles. It is a highly valuable weapon worth up to $10 million. But the Ukrainians tracked its coordinates and destroyed it with just one HIMARS missile. The uncontrolled explosion of ammunition confirms the destruction of the system. It is evident that the Ukrainian army has accumulated enough HIMARS ammunition to actively employ them during their counteroffensive. Currently, the command of the Ukrainian army is focused on destroying as much Russian artillery and other military capabilities as possible, and only then will it be possible to deliver the main strike and break through the Russian defense. One of the main tasks is to destroy as many Russian ammunition as possible, which they typically hide among thickets and trees. Take a look at this video. Ukrainian reconnaissance found a bunch of Russian anti-tank mines among the trees. To destroy it, it was enough to drop one grenade from a drone. The explosion created a crater in the ground, and all the trees burned down. In this video, we can witness the detonation of a large number of ammunition hidden among the trees. Recently, the Ukrainians tracked down a large ammunition depot in abandoned buildings on the outskirts of the city of Donetsk. During the night, a precise missile strike was carried out on this depot using HIMARS. The ammunition immediately started detonating and scattering in all directions, but after just a few seconds, a massive explosion occurred, illuminating the entire city. One of the local residents managed to capture that moment on video. But that's not the biggest explosion in the city. The largest explosion during this war occurred in the Ukrainian city of Khmelnytsky. The Russians hit warehouses where outdated ammunition was stored. When the ammunition exploded, many thought that the Russians had used tactical nuclear weapons because it resembled a so-called nuclear mushroom cloud. Fortunately, the city didn't suffer much damage as the warehouses were located on the premises of a disposal plant. The Russians are afraid to concentrate a large number of ammunition in one place to avoid the Ukrainians destroying them. Therefore, they disperse the majority of their ammunition. Some of them are hidden in small batches in forest plantations. Ukrainian aerial reconnaissance constantly searches for and destroys such depots. Part of the ammunition is constantly on wheels. They are transported directly from rear depots to the front. Aerial reconnaissance also helps in destroying trucks carrying ammunition. Thus, step by step, the Ukrainians are clearing their land from enemy forces, and if Western countries continue to support the Ukrainian army, Ukraine will inevitably emerge victorious. I want to remind you that Ukraine is supported by over 50 countries worldwide. The combined GDP of all these countries exceeds 60% of the global economy, while Russia's economic capabilities do not exceed 1% of the world's volume. This indicates that Russia has no chances of winning this war. We will continue to cover the progress of the Ukrainian counteroffensive, so please subscribe to our channel to not miss any new videos.